our distance learning friend in African American literature. And this is my presentation for vernacular tradition. I wanted to really think about song and protest songs. So the title of my presentation in my paper is Glory of the Civil Rights Movement, an analysis of song in and surrounding the movement. First off, I want to talk about the importance of song. We started to dive into this when we looked at the article in This Little Light of Mine, and this was an amazing quote by Rutha Mae Harris. You start singing a song, and somehow those billy clubs would not hate you. It played a very important role in the movement. So that's just a very simple, straightforward way of saying this is why song is important. This is why music is important. It made this pain go away in some sort of weird, warped way. In a presentation for Black History Month, President Obama actually elaborated on this. He said, I'm not going to read the whole quote because it's long, but you should go through and read it. In fact, if you wanted to go find this whole speech, it's amazing. But he says, you see, it's easy to sing when you're happy. It's easy to sing when you're among friends. It's easy to sing when times are good. But it's hard to sing when times are rough. It's hard to sing when you face the taunts and fear and the constant threat of violence. But in times like that, that's precisely when the power of songs is most potent. Above the din of hatred, amidst the deafening silence of inaction, the hymns of the civil rights movement have carried the cause of the people to advance the ideals of a nation. And that is just really symptomatic of everything we know to be true about the civil rights movement. The people that were fighting for their rights used music to propel them into change, to propel them and to keep them going and to inspire them through the movement. All right, so first off, I want to just look at some very traditional pieces of civil rights protest music. We have the classic Lift Every Voice and Sing, beautiful, straightforward, the African American national anthem. Then we have We Shall Not Be Moved. The times, they are a-changin'. A change is going to come, and we shall overcome. And it was kind of interesting. You would expect Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is the African American national anthem, to be the face of the civil rights movement. But actually, according to archivist Kate Stewart, We Shall Overcome was the most popular and recorded song of the movement. And so I want to really unpack that song. We know We Shall Overcome is a spiritual, and the way I have sort of categorized a spiritual versus anything else is it feels like a spiritual sort of acknowledges the pain but looks forward to with hope to a better time period. So we have, for We Shall Overcome, we have two kind of versions. First off, we have Pete Seeger, which that is a American folk singer, and he sort of brought this song to light during the civil rights movement. We know the classic lyrics, We Shall Overcome. But then in a interesting and strangely thought-provoking YouTube video, Deez brings up this version by Mahalia Jackson, which slightly changes these lyrics. So instead of shall overcome, she says, we will overcome, we will overcome, we will overcome someday. If in my heart, I do believe, instead of, oh, deep in my heart, I do believe. And it almost brings the power onto the people singing, saying, it's not just, I'm going to believe and it's going to happen. It's no, I have to believe or it will happen. So it brings the responsibility to the singer, to the person that is thinking about this. And then his quote there is pretty powerful too. It says, there's been a need for it, so music and protest song, to evolve. From the beginning, Black music has always acknowledged oppression, just like we already said, it acknowledges it, while hoping for a better future. So that goes right back to that recipe for a spiritual. You have to acknowledge oppression, and then you have to look forward with a hope. All right, and then we have these modern tracks that move us toward the civil rights protest songs type thing. Okay. So we have American Skin by Bruce Springsteen. That's from 2003. Glory from John Legend and Common. Freedom by Beyonce, Kendrick Lamar. Quiet by Milk. This Is America by Childish Gambino. And you see kind of like there's a break in these years, probably because I'm just not very knowledgeable about the music in that period. But I also didn't see in the research a lot in that period. Thought that was interesting. I really want to zoom in though on this song Glory by John Legend and Common. I think it's a very powerful and potent track that almost falls into the category of a spiritual. So first off, you need to know that Glory is the theme song for the movie Selma, the 2014 movie Selma. And we have a repeated refrain that sounds just like a spiritual. One day when the glory comes, it'll be ours. It'll be ours. Oh, one day when the war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Oh, glory, glory. And we've got this choir coming in behind him. Glory. And it feels very spiritual like, okay? And then we have this modern rap verse that brings in actual modern history, juxtaposing it with the civil rights movement. So let's look at some specific lines. Whoop. It's going to try to play the movie. We're just going to scooch past it. Oh, we just talked about that. So let's look at these specific lyrics. This is our rap verse. We have hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon. And then actually I want to jump down here. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. I'm not even going to try to rap it, y'all. Sorry, can't rap. Obviously, that first line and that last line are going to be looking back at the shooting of the 16-year-old boy in Ferguson. And I'm forgetting the year. But we all remember it happening. The 18-year-old boy was unarmed and a police officer shot him. And so this has become sort of a thing, walking with your hands up as a form of protest. We don't shoot people that are unarmed. Seems like a logical thing. Okay. And then we look at sins that go against our skin become blessings. And that just is such delicious dissonance that I have to point it out. We have freedom is like religion to us. It's like something we live off of, life-sustaining. Justice is juxtaposed in us. I don't even know. It's interesting the way they weave this together. Those are two really specific lines that I think are cool, though. And we're going to unpack some later. But then John Legend comes back. And we have this really interesting acknowledgement. It says, now the war is not over. Victory isn't won. And we'll fight on to the finish. Then when it's all done, we'll cry glory, oh glory. And the refrain comes back. But I'm sorry, y'all. I love this song. I can't not sing it. When we look at this, we have two meanings. It feels very like there's a double meaning here. Yes, at the end of the movie Selma, when this song is played, the war is not over. They have not quite, if you haven't seen Selma, the whole movie is about voting rights and how people in the South or African Americans, in the South are being, yes, they legally can vote, but they have to jump through hoop after hoop to be able to actually vote. So when we are looking through the end of the movie, when you see it, they have not yet broken through that barrier. They still have barriers keeping them from being able to vote. And so now the war isn't over. Victory isn't won. We'll fight on. That could go for that. But also in the year 2014, when Legend and Common produced this song, when it was first written and performed, we still, as Americans, have not overcome racism and all of the many terrible problems that go along with that. So I feel like it's a double meaning. It's, yes, back then, we're not done with our mission. In the movie, we're not done with the mission. But also, in the 21st century, we are not done. There are so many things that we still have to overcome. And when it's all done, we'll cry glory. Oh, glory. So then we have all of these good things. These are some other delicious metaphors in the rap verse. So I just wanted to look at them. Okay, saw the face of Jim Crow under a bald eagle. So yet again, he's just juxtaposing these two things. Jim Crow laws, the segregation laws that make it legal, and then a bald eagle that is kind of not supporting it, but also not hindering it. If you watch the Selma movie, it's a really interesting take that I didn't know personally, how Lyndon B. Johnson was very much playing it both sides. Yes, that was President Lyndon B. Johnson, was sort of playing both sides. He didn't want to rock the boat, is how I interpreted it. And so it's almost like the bald eagle is not supporting it, but not stopping it either. And then I think it's also delicious how Common uses this. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd, sort of bringing the ethos in a way of Jesus to the movement and saying, we're going to have to march for our crown just like Jesus did, which is kind of an interesting allusion to bring about. And then finally, and what I think is the most interesting, is in the movie Selma, it ends on the Battle Hill Republic. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. And here in this last iteration of the rap verse, Common says, the coming of the Lord. My eyes have seen the glory. Yet again, bringing back that idea of traditional song. And if you don't know the history of Mine Eyes Have Seen the Glory, if you don't know the history of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, I didn't either. I just thought it was an amazing song that I've sang in many times in choirs. That song was used to sort of spur on hope for the people that were... Sorry, I was going backward in slides. Can't talk and go backward. That song was used to spur on the hope and the will of the Northern statesmen during the Civil War. So they were trying to, end slavery. They were like, this is not cool. And they sang that song as sort of a jumping off point in a way. Sorry about that side ramble. Didn't have the notes in front of me, but it's a really interesting take. And so bringing that back there is really powerful. To bring all of this back together, y'all, when I look at glory, when I look at the repeated refrain, when I think about the way they intertwine history and the reality of that history, it all feels very much like a spiritual to me. It all feels very much like pain plus hope. But when we think of it also, we have to acknowledge that it's a different form. Yes, we have the beautiful refrain and the choir voices coming up behind it and the call and response it places. But we also have this new form, this rap and this thoughtful lyrics within the rap that really bring in this call for action. And it is in your face. King pointed to the mountaintop and we ran up. I don't have the lyric in front of me, but there's also a moment where Common says, what does he say? They marched with the torch. We're going to run with it now. So it is this new form of spiritual. It is this new part of the movement where we are no longer, we have the social capital to throw it in your face that we need change. And I think that's an amazing place to be in. And we're working towards change, hopefully, with music just like this. And I I think that's amazing. Music can be so powerful, and I'm sorry if this is really long, but I found this song and these songs to be so moving. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation and it didn't put you to sleep, and my singing voice didn't make you want to die. All that being said, have a great night, y'all.